You're in a meeting. Your manager asks you a question. Everyone is staring at you through the screen, and the only thing that comes out of your mouth is, I think, so basically, and right there, in that moment, you can feel your confidence just collapse. The people on that call are still looking at you, waiting, and in your head, you're thinking, why can't I just say the words? If that has ever happened to you, you are not alone. And I want you to know something important before we go any further. It is not about your English level. It is not about how smart you are. It is not even about how long you have been working. It is about not having the right replacement phrases yet. And that is exactly what we are fixing today. I'm going to give you 5 powerful phrases that professionals use to sound calm, clear, and completely in control, even when they are caught off guard. We're going to practice each one together, out loud, and by the time this video is done, you will walk into your next meeting sounding like you have been doing this for years. I'm Wendy, and welcome to Speak Like a Pro. Let's dive in. Before we get into the phrases, I want to take just 30 seconds to explain why this actually matters, because once you understand what is really communicating to the people around you, you will never want to say it the same way again. When you say repeatedly in a meeting, the people listening do not think, oh, they're just thinking. What they actually hear is uncertainty. They hear nervousness, and in professional settings, nervousness gets read as a lack of confidence, and a lack of confidence, fairly or not, gets read as a lack of competence. That is not fair, but it is real, and it is happening in meeting rooms and on Zoom calls every single day. The good news is this: you do not need to stop pausing. Pausing is actually a sign of a thoughtful speaker. What you need to do is stop filling that pause with and start filling it with something that sounds intentional, polished, and completely in control. That is exactly what these 5 phrases do. So, let's get into it. Phrase 1. When you need a moment to think. Your manager asks you a question in front of the whole team. You were not expecting it. Your brain needs 2 seconds to catch up with your mouth. This is the exact moment most people say, Here's what you say instead. That's a great point. Let me think about that for a moment. Simple, calm, professional. You are not stalling. You are showing that you take the question seriously enough to give it a real, considered answer. That is what senior people do, and now it's what you do too. Let's practice. Say this out loud with me, not in your head, actually say it. That's how language gets into your muscle memory. Repeat after me. That's a great point. Let me think about that for a moment. Now, one more time, a little slower. That's a great point. Let me think about that for a moment. Now say it like you mean it, like you're in the meeting right now. That's a great point. Let me think about that for a moment. Good. Notice how that sounds completely different from It fills the exact same silence, but now the silence is yours. You own it. Here's a variation you can also use when the question is more complex. Interesting. Give me just a second to gather my thoughts. Repeat after me. Interesting. Give me just a second to gather my thoughts. Again. Interesting. Give me just a second to gather my thoughts. You now have 2 options for this situation. Use whichever one feels most natural coming out of your mouth. Phrase 2. When you have multiple things to say. You know when someone asks you something and you have a lot to say, but you're not sure how to begin, so you just start talking and hope it organizes itself on the way out? And then it sounds like, so basically there are a few things. Okay, so first of all, here's what you say instead. So there are a couple of things I want to address here. The moment you say that sentence, something shifts in the room. People start listening more carefully because you have just signaled that something structured and organized is coming. You have set an expectation, and then you simply deliver on it. You don't even need to have everything figured out when you say it. The phrase itself buys you the 2 seconds you need to get organized. Repeat after me. So there are a couple of things I want to address here. Again, with a short pause after, like something important is coming. So there are a couple of things I want to address here. One more time. So there are a couple of things I want to address here. Here's a variation that works well when you want to sound even more precise. I'd like to make 2 points on this. Repeat. I'd like to make 2 points on this. Again, I'd like to make 2 points on this. When you say, I'd like to make 2 points, your brain immediately starts looking for 2 points, and it usually finds them. It's one of those phrases that makes you sound more prepared than you might actually feel in that moment. Phrase 3. When you don't have the answer right now. This is the situation that makes most professionals uncomfortable and the one that produces the most ums. Someone asks a specific question, a number, a deadline, a decision, and you simply do not have that answer yet. So it comes out like, I'm not really sure. I think maybe. And now you look unprepared. But here's what is actually true. You are not unprepared. You just don't have that specific piece of information right now. There's a real difference between those two things, and this phrase captures that difference perfectly. I want to give you an accurate answer. Can I follow up on that by end of day? Read that back in your mind. You are not avoiding the question. You are protecting the quality of your answer. You are telling the room that accuracy matters more than a fast response. That is not weakness. That is exactly what a trustworthy professional sounds like. Repeat after me. I want to give you an accurate answer. Can I follow up on that by end of day? Again, and really mean it. I want to give you an accurate answer. Can I follow up on that by end of day? One more time. I want to give you an accurate answer. Can I follow up on that by end of day? Here's a shorter version that works perfectly in a fast-moving meeting. Let me verify that and get back to you. I want to make sure I give you the right information. Repeat. Let me verify that and get back to you. I want to make sure I give you the right information. Both of those phrases do something could never do. They close the question with complete dignity. Phrase 4. When you're interrupted or lose your thread. You're mid-sentence, someone cuts in, or your train of thought just disappears, and instead of recovering smoothly, you say, sorry, where was I? Yeah, so... And now everyone is watching you scramble to find your place, and that's 10 times more uncomfortable than the original interruption was. Here's how you take back control, without missing a beat. Let me come back to that. I want to finish this point. This phrase works in 2 ways. First, when someone interrupts you mid-point and you want to acknowledge them without losing your momentum. Second, when you genuinely lose your thread and need a second to find it again. Either way, it sounds deliberate. It sounds like you are directing the conversation, not being directed by it. Repeat after me. Let me come back to that. I want to finish this point. Again, a little firmer. Let me come back to that. I want to finish this point. One more time. Let me come back to that. I want to finish this point. And then when you're ready to circle back to what they raised, you say, now going back to what you mentioned earlier. Repeat. Now going back to what you mentioned earlier. Again. Now going back to what you mentioned earlier. You have not ignored them. You have not forgotten. You simply controlled the timing. And that's a skill that gets noticed every single time. Phrase 5. The senior phrase. I saved this one for last because this is the phrase that most professionals, even very experienced ones, never use consistently. And the people who do, they get remembered. They get taken seriously. They get the kind of respect in meetings that has nothing to do with their job title. This phrase tells the room, I know exactly what I think, and I'm about to say it with complete clarity. To summarize my position clearly, then state your point. Let me show you the difference between having this phrase and not having it. Without it, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think we should probably, go with the second option because, it sort of makes more sense for us. With it, to summarize my position clearly,
I recommend we go with the second option. It reduces our risk and it aligns with the Q2 targets. Same opinion, same meeting, completely different impact. Repeat after me. To summarize my position clearly. Again, like you're addressing a boardroom. To summarize my position clearly. Now say it and finish the sentence with any opinion you want. For example, to summarize my position clearly, I think we should move forward. Now your turn. Use your own words. Start with, to summarize my position clearly. That phrase right there is the one that makes people write your name down after a meeting is over. Okay, full drill. We're running through all 5 one final time. Fast. No thinking, just your voice. Ready? That's a great point. Let me think about that for a moment. So there are a couple of things I want to address here.
Your next meeting will feel completely different. I promise you that. The goal was never to be perfect. The goal is to be clear. And now you have 5 phrases that will carry you through any moment in any meeting where you used to freeze up and reach for Save this video. Come back to it the night before your next big call and drop in the comments right now. Which of these 5 phrases are you using first? I want to know. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.